So, a buy box is a set of criteria used by business buyers to evaluate potential opportunities.
Right.
It helps ensure that the business aligns with your financial goals, market expertise, and long-term strategy. And so here's a model that I think would fit your buy box.
Okay.
And it's in my mind too, this is what I look for: low overhead and scalable. Okay. Uh,
Right.
Recurring revenue,
Hmm.
established market relationships, alignment with real estate investment, because many of us are real estate investors and we're like, hey, I get real estate investing. I also get owning and operating businesses. Sounds sexy.
The real estate industry is slowing down. I'm talking with more and more flippers who were going gangbusters from 2020 to 2023. A lot of them are slowing down because the market is slowing down. I wanted to have a conversation with Bo Eckstein, the concierge to small business lending, and talk about franchises a home flipper might want to think about, or maybe even better yet, a real estate investor. Why do I want to have this conversation? Because I am just thinking about all of the tradesmen that I work with: roofers, ACs, heaters, lawns, painters. There's got to be a lot of franchises that may be a great start for a real estate investor. So, Bo, I know I sprung this on you at the last minute. What are your thoughts about um, franchises that might be a good fit for a real estate investor or maybe home flipper?
So, you know, I've been thinking about buy box for a while because we always talk about it in the real estate capacity. So, a buy box is a set of criteria used by business buyers to evaluate potential opportunities.
Right.
It helps ensure that the business aligns with your financial goals, market expertise, and long-term strategy. And so here's a model that I think would fit your buy box.
Okay.
And it's and in my mind too, this is what I look for: low overhead and scalable. Okay. Uh,
Right.
Recurring revenue,
Hmm.
established market relationships, alignment with real estate investment, because many of us are real estate investors and we're like, hey, I get real estate investing. I also get owning and operating businesses. Sounds sexy, but is it sexy for you? And it's all individual. Key criteria for a business buy box: industry fit, revenue potential, growth opportunities, operational efficiencies. So when I'm looking at all this and I'm talking to many of your listeners, um, one thing I notice is everybody comes from a different spot, right? And
Sure.
so I'll rewind to a conversation I had last week, and he says, "Oh, I've been watching you on One Rental at a Time," and he actually called me for financing initially. He said, "Oh, I should have reached out. You could have helped me on the franchise," but he had already been engaged with some other franchise consultants, and he was looking at Cody Sanchez franchise because he probably saw Cody Sanchez,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Makes
and she
sense.
was smart for getting into that. And then he was looking at an HVAC company, and I said, "Hey, I'll help you with the financing, whatever way I can be of value to you. Let's
Sure.
do it." And so we started just having a conversation. He's like, "Well, who do you like better, HVAC or the painting company?" And I started to dig into him, like, "Well, let me ask you questions about your background." And then we get to find out he's a very successful financial planner,
Mm.
makes, 750 grand a year. I go, I go, I go,
Damn.
I go, man, you don't have an income problem, right? You have a
Yeah.
freaking tax problem.
You got a tax problem. Exactly.
And then I'm like, okay. And this is what I do for everybody. Kind of like, I want to understand. You have to understand the motive before you actually define your buy box, right? Because
Right.
people have different buy boxes for a reason. And then I said, okay, so you make a lot of money. Your business is recurring revenue, a lot of it, at least, probably. And you're used to building that, and that every time you do work, you build that recurring revenue stream
Mhm.
from your business model. And so, why do you want to own business? I just want to own a business. Okay, well, let's unpack it. And then we start talking. He says, "Well, so does your spouse work?" No, she stay at home, but she's deemed a real estate professional. We've got about a 1.7 $2 million portfolio. And then I'm like, okay, well, check with the CPA. But if you know what cost segregation is, he's like,
Right.
he didn't really know. And I said, well, I know if it's a short-term rental and you materially participate, you can cost seg. And I believe, and I'm
Mhm.
not a CPA or tax accountant, but you could probably, because your wife's deemed a real estate professional, she spends X amount of hours,
Yep.
You could probably do the cost segregation.
Hmm.
And so the net equation of that conversation was, I bet you he'll save about 200 grand in taxes doing the cost seg on the $2 million portfolio. And
Probably.
so like, and then I'm like, and then he's like, well, what? And then he's like, well, what franchises do you recommend?
Mm.
And that brings us to the conversation now, which is like, well, I think you should find something that's got recurring revenue potential, right? Not maybe not all of the business is recurring revenue. So this business in particular that I'm fond of, they do home services. They do basically 18-point home services, like which costs like a fraction of what it would cost to do these services individually. So the guy that founded the company owns 600 doors in the Silicon Valley. He's a
The Valley. Oi.
Yes. I
Hey,
don't know if it must be apartments. I don't think it's single family. I don't know for a fact. Okay.
it's got to be multifamily. But
Yeah, I would assume that.
still
And
nuts.
so the gentleman's a corporate attorney,
Hmm.
and he started seeing a lot of lawsuits to landlords, and for frivolous stuff like they're not taking care of the property. But then it pointed out a good point is like, well, a lot of times when I've owned my portfolio and I sold all my portfolio, remember I was telling you I was going to do it? I did it, executed the plan. It was perfect. So now I am following the one rental method.
There you go.
Much smarter. And so this guy would see a lot of lawsuits essentially. And he
Mhm.
formed this business because he knew that there needed to be a standard of care that was logged and documented. So
Yeah.
basically, essentially, they do things like gutter cleaning, downspout, negative pressure cleaning, branch removal, water heater flush, HVA system filter changes, garage
Yeah,
door.
he just sets up that yearly maintenance, and then he has the audit trail and all of that. It's genius.
You got it. And so after the inspection, after the completion of this 18-point, let's just call it like a lube job, right?
Yeah,
Like an oil change, uh, the the client gets a detailed report with photos to put in
there
their
you go.
file to say, look, we do this every quarter, yada yada yada. Okay,
Hmm.
so this for me as a real estate investor, I get this whole thing because I know
Yeah.
like deferred maintenance. First of all, you don't want deferred maintenance because it's gonna longevity of the HVAC of the water heater, all this thing is gonna it's gonna have a lot longer life.
Hmm.
So this business model is amazing for that component as a real estate investor. The other reason I love this business model is because they have kind of four segments. They have property managers. So they go after property managers. Some of the property managers, that's where they make their money though, right? Like, but
Hmm.
there's some that's like, look, I don't want to deal with it. I want a third party that sends a report that I stick in the file for the landlord owner of this property. So their goal when they kick off this franchise is they actually send their team to your market, and their goal is to get you like 2 or 3 thousand doors. So
Mm.
that's your recurring revenue with the property managers because you're going to service those doors. The other revenue stream is getting a house ready for sale. They have a deal inked with Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate, where they do like I think they're coming out with like a certified home before you sell it, where they do the kind of the power washing, do all the changes, all the things that might get called initially on a home inspection. So they get the house market ready. So that's another segment. Then they do community facility maintenance, and then they do one-off things for real estate owners. And so this business model, you don't need a brick and mortar location. It's basically two technicians in a van, low overhead, relatively low initial startup costs. So something like this checks my buy box because it's got all the components that I would look for in a business model.
Mm.
And then you do need vans. So the question is, do you lease the van or do you really need a bigger tax break and do you buy a van? Because
Mm.
part of your plan is that I'm making a ton of money in my other business and I need the tax write off. And so
Right.
that's where I'd start looking to define a buy box. I hope I did a good job of just kind of
No,
explaining
I think
why
it's
I think, yeah.
well, there's a couple of things you did for me there. First and foremost, if you're a fan of one rental at a time, you know that I bring on people that care. And if you really think about buying a business, you got to work with somebody who's willing to talk to you and ask questions. I don't, lots of people try to get on my channel because they're trying to sell services and do this, that, and the other. Most people never get on the channel once, and even less people get on repeatedly. The reason you're here is because you're willing to sit with people and ask questions, and they may come to you with, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying a painting company," but after you've talked to them for 45 minutes, you realize that there may be something else. You're also willing to break down and give advice because you are a real estate investor. And the cost segregation example earlier, just another example of why you're a go giver and you come back every week. I just love the fact that, I mean, the craziest thing to me, the craziest thing, Bo, is you created a website, a URL, just for this channel. Nobody does that, dude. Nobody. What is that channel, or what is that URL?
It's onerentalmeeting.com. One is spelled
One,
out.
yeah, onerentalmeeting.com. He created it for us. I know lots of people, Cody Sanchez, Alex Ramosi, and others, are getting people excited about small businesses. I think if we are heading into a recession, or if we are in a recession, there's going to be a lot of small businesses that you could look at buying, or it's another reason to start. And the other thing I want to talk about is, if you are a high tech, entrepreneur or employee, maybe the right answer is vending, right? I know there's been a lot of people. I've had a couple people comment on videos saying, "Hey, I reached out to Bo and I think I'm going to buy a vending machine," right? So you do have opportunities to buy vending machines. And talk about that. I think you're working with somebody who's going to buy 6 or 8 or whatever vending machines. Talk
Yeah.
about the avatar that's right for vending.
So with vending, you're really going to spend about an hour per machine per week. Everything's done over your phone, so you can track what products need to be replaced. And if you guys want to visit this website, it's called section179.org. There's a calculator in there, and you can do the numbers. So if you bought $100,000 of vending machines, what does that do? And then what you do is you take that knowledge from all the facts you're going to read on section179.org. You're going to go meet with your CPA, and you're going to say, "Hey, I'm planning on buying 100 grand of these vending machines. I made 250 as a tech worker. I'm going to do some sort of pass-through entity. How would that affect my W-2? I paid in 125 in taxes. What would I get back this year if I did the same thing and I bought these vending machines by the end of 2024?" Right? These are the things we need to start asking, because I deal with this every single day, and and this sounds funny, I almost want to take classes on taxes, because the little bit I know, I already can save people hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you're listening, you know who you are, and I talked to you 2 days ago, and let's just say it works out and you do the cost segregation and you can offset 200 grand or whatever that number is. Just buy me sushi. That's all I ask.
There you go. You buy him sushi dinner. Yeah, folks. Again, Bo's here, concierge small business lending. I think small businesses are the backbone of America. I don't know if people saw this, but I did see that Vice President Harris came out with a new tax plan for small businesses. I don't know if you saw this, but you're going to take the tax credit for starting a business from 5 grand to 50 grand. Again, this is just a proposal. I've only read one article on it. But again, I think there is just a general feeling that we need more small businesses. Again, I don't know any details about the 50K. I don't know how you get it. It's obviously just a proposal. But the key is, even all the politicians are talking about it. And, Bo is here every week because he cares and he's willing to sit down and talk with you. One more time, where could they go?
Go to onerentalmeeting.com, schedule a Zoom meeting, and we'll get on it. And I actually created, I've talked about the business assessment, and I'm actually almost finalized it. I felt like that was a good assessment, but I actually created my own, I call it a quiz. And it basically, I think there's 30 questions on there. And ideally, I have you take that before we meet, so I can pinpoint like an ideal business. Because
you know what I want to do? When you've got it done, I would love to do a call just like this, where I take the quiz just to see.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Let's have people see it.
Yeah. I mean, essentially with all the news going on, listen, I'm always going to be 100% real estate. I'm always going to be 100% business now. I like the triangle theory, which is tax strategy, real estate, operating business.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Love it.
So let's do it.
Cool.
onerentalmeeting.com.
Onerentalmeeting.com, folks. Go get the quiz. I'm going to take it next week or the week after. Thanks, guys. Later.